BroDiallo broadcast. Of course, this is BroDiallo broadcasting straight out of the city of Chirac, state of Illinois, in the United States of America, in the over-ravaged, hyper-exploited, soon-to-be devoid of life, planet Earth. I have to say, because I say this as though it's just a passing phrase, but white hegemony, global white hegemony, and the systems and institutions of industrial and post-industrial capitalism are destroying the life-sustaining capacity of the earth. Not just human life, but plant and animal species and even microscopic life forms are being ravaged. So, no matter what we talk about, the real issue is that, and how do we orient, organize, and prioritize global white hegemony in the systems and institutions and infrastructure of global capitalism. So that being said, as just a reintroduction, because I missed Monday. I'm sorry I missed. What did I miss? I missed something. I think I was, my son had a triumphant, life-changing event that we had to attend to Monday. Congratulations, Romo. Very proud of you and the things that you do. But you are outpacing me. My son is accomplishing shit at 25. At 25. My son is accomplishing shit at 21 years old that I didn't even have in my early 30s. But what are you going to do? So I'm going to hate on him, but I'm still proud. How do you be proud and hate on somebody at the same time? I'll figure it out. And when I figure it out, I'll tell you. Anyway, moving forward, today I want to talk about Black Power media. And it's because there's two things that motivate me to talk about Black Power media. Number one, people that are close to me, people that I respect, people that I know support and follow Black Power media have been asking me what the fuck's going on over there. And a lot of people who know what the fuck's going on over at Black Power media are being hush-hush out of some warped sense of principles and principalities. So I am going to talk about, and let me just put that in my note, the principle. Because that shit is warped. Everything is warped. And so that's number one. Number two, shout out to Kim Brown, Burn It Down with Kim Brown. She was intelligent enough and principled enough to come out and also articulate her positions and concerns. And I'm just going to say this. If you're new to the Black liberation struggle, it is a magnet for and a reservoir and a fertile environment for demagogues and other warped and toxic personalities. But I don't use that to condemn or attack the Black liberation struggle or the Black consciousness movement, because guess what? People like that are found everywhere. And I think that the Black liberation struggle should carry a level of self-criticism, that the Black liberation struggle is a reservoir for demagogues, con men, petty crooks and major crooks and cult leaders. But being that our mission and ideology should not be a place that incentivizes or rewards that behavior. Because anywhere, any demographic of Black people, and I know some of these demographic overlaps and some of y'all gonna straddle some of these groups, but the Black academics, the Black fraternities and sororities, the Black church, that's probably the worst demographic of Black folks. The Black integrationists, civil rights icons, every population exhibits what you call menticide, and maladaptations. But people try to act like, and what's curious is I'll find Black people that go into Black consciousness, the Black African-centered Black liberation struggles, and encounter some of the same maladaptations and dysfunctions that they find everywhere else, but they'll be like, I ain't with that Black shit no more. And ask yourself, don't even listen to me, ask yourself, how many times have you ran into a Black person that's like, I'm not with that Black capitalist no more. I ain't with that capitalist shit no more. I'm not with that American patriotism shit no more. or the many other myriad of environments. I'm not with that black church shit no more, because I know black folks who've been physically, psychologically, and financially abused and targeted and damn near destroyed by the black church. And what they generally do is go from one church to the next. They don't stop being Christian. And even if they stop being Christian, they convert to Islam. So, and Islam is nothing but a mutant offspring of Christianity, which is a mutant offspring of Judaism, monotheism, Abrahamic religions. So I'm not going to let people beat up on the conscious community, because we also have demagogues, scallywops, chumps, and suckers, because we're not unique in that. And once you find a community, an environment, a demographic, an ideological path that isn't plagued by such individuals and such behavior patterns, holla at me. But I think that we should give grace to the Black conscious movement, because I believe the Black liberation struggle has the most noble and necessary mission of all those other groups, which is why I'm a part of it. But I also, so we give it grace, but we also have to be like, how is our community rewarding and incentivizing the behaviors I'm going to be talking about this evening? But before I even get into that, how y'all doing? Herder, how are y'all doing? Because like I said, I've missed y'all. I missed last week, and travel season's coming up. I'm gonna be in Baltimore this weekend. Be more. I'm going to be in Kansas City. I'm gonna be in New York. I'm gonna be around and about. I'm gonna be places. So understanding and knowing that I might be missing out, but and depends on Wi-Fi and the hotel room and all that other shit. So I'm gonna try to roll, but y'all give me more love than I'm worthy of. Y'all give me more love than I'm worthy of, so I can't even complain about y'all. And I know I threatened to pick at y'all because I don't feel that y'all are kicking in with the support, the financial, material support that I don't think y'all be liking, sharing, and subscribing like I asked y'all to. And because I work for the people, I am a product of the people. I say I'm gonna come to each and every one of my supporters' house and pick at y'all because y'all my boss. And y'all not taking proper care of me. But that's be that. So let's move on. I do want to say, I know I talk about a lot of bad and horrible things, but I like to say there are some good things happening in the world, because I am aggressively, I'm afraid of how much I'm enjoying Trump's hush money trial. I'm afraid of it. I got to go delete my browser history. And up until Stormy Daniels, I didn't know. I know no names of no white porn stars. I don't know any white porn. Wait, did I say white porn star? I don't know no names of no porn stars. I don't know nothing about none of that. But now I know who Stormy Daniels is. And so I know the name of a white porn star. And that's probably, if you ask me, Jenna Jameson. I know about her too, because she would show up in those goofy movies. I used to like to watch like Adult Swim and a lot of those weed head movies that they have on weekends and stuff, late night weekend movies. So I know she used to be. So I know two porn stars, period. That's not the point. But I'm just saying I'm enjoying it. Shit is wild. And what's funny, the funniest fucking thing about this Trump hush money trial is Trump is on trial, spending millions of dollars trying to avoid jail over something he didn't have to do, because Trump, when he was running, was like, I'm clinching. I'm on top of grunting and clinching and sweating on top of this woman who reminds me of my daughter. I told her just before we had intercourse, and she spanked me on the behind with a magazine with my own image on it. And he's like, my evangelical Christians, the moral majority, the Trinity Broadcasting Network, the mega church white folks, if they hear about what I did with a porn star, I'd lose support. I would lose support. And it turns out, not only did Trump not lose support when the whole Stormy Daniels things and the indictment came down, the white Christian moral majority, his support amongst them went up and solidified. So he didn't even have to do it. He did it for nothing. Trump had more consideration and respect for the morality and the values of the Christian right than they do. Trump thought to them people, man, they believe some of what they say. They got to stand on and believe in something that they say. And so the Christian majority is even shittier than Trump. And they were like, oh, Trump, sir. Oh, no, sir. We don't. I mean, that's rhetoric. That's rhetoric. The ones out here who want to stop groomers don't give a shit if you're finding women that remind you of your daughter and engaging in intercourse while your actual mail order whore of a wife is pregnant. And you know, Barron Trump's like 7 feet tall. He's some Caucasus Mountain cave giant. Neanderthal giant with a club. I mean, that Trump shit is wild. But I gotta tell y'all this. Because I love our ancestor Malcolm X. But there are some things that Malcolm X said that when he said it, he was right. Malcolm X said it, he was 100% on point. But what he said back then is no longer true today. And I hear a lot of people repeating Malcolm X. And some things that when you quote Malcolm X, you have to say in 68, 65, 64, Malcolm X said, and it was true. One of the things that what Malcolm X said, and I know y'all get mad at me because y'all love this overly simplistic analysis. And you rightfully hate the liberals, and you want to take a shot at the liberals, and using Malcolm X and the standard he set, Malcolm X's legacy, as a bludgeon to beat white liberals and black liberals over the head with, and the Democratic and black Democrats over the head. I understand that's a cudgel that we like to use. I've used it myself in the exact same way, but it is no longer true. If you go back and read the quote where Malcolm X said that the conservatives are honest, that the Democrats and the liberals are more hypocritical than the conservatives and the Republicans. It was true when he said it, because he was talking about the civil rights era. But it is no longer true. The Republicans lie like dogs. They lie. Another thing that Malcolm X said that has not withstood the test of time, that was true when he said it, that is not true now, is when he said black people are the only folks that go out and get celebrities as leaders and follow celebrities as leaders. I don't believe that was really true then, but I'll give it to Malcolm X. But that is no longer true now. For all the love black people have for celebrities, for all the fucking celebrities black people foam at the mouth and collapse on the floor and gyrate when they say boo, when they snap their fingers, for all the love and worship that we have, how we hashtag goal these sleazy motherfuckers as we aspire to get like they do, as we try to dress our wives up as Beyonce, and I don't think there's any wives dressing their husbands up as your wife looking at you, expecting you to be Denzel or Idris, depending on how old she is, and you looking at her and like you be Claire Huxtable. As much as this foolishness we get up to, we ain't never sent a black celebrity to the motherfucking White House. White folks done it twice. We ain't never sent an actor, a performer to the fucking seat of power. And I say, I do not like Barack Obama. I think Barack Obama is an international war criminal, a mass murderer, and is corrupt. And I think that Trump should be in a cell right next to Obama if we're going to be prosecuting ex-presidents for crimes. And I would prefer that Obama be laid up getting hit on the butt by a magazine by a porn star than do some of the heinous things that he did. Libya alone, lock him up. The ongoing atrocities, expanding the ongoing atrocities in Syria, Yemen, Iraq, the aggression, the hyper-aggression and provoking of North Korea. Criminal. Yes, I'd rather he be laid up with Cherokee the ass getting whipped with a Jet magazine. I wish he got down like Trump. Trump's crimes. You know, and Trump is an international war criminal. They will try you for getting a spanking from a porn star before they try you for mass crimes against humanity. But to say all that to say, from a strictly centrist, liberal, democratic point of view, from an American, as a U.S. citizen, Obama was overqualified to be fucking president. Name a constitutional scholar, former state senator and former U.S. senator. He was overqualified. And I'd like to believe, and I think you can, if Obama was out here acting like Trump, I think he would lose black support. I don't think he's worthy of black support, but I don't think black people are that fucking far gone. But anyway, that whole thing, white people, celebrity, Kid Rock. I think Kid Rock could go shooting at beer cans. He costs Bud Light and its mother corporation, its subsidiary, whatever the big Anheuser-Busch, he cost them over $1 billion. Kid Rock went outside and took a machine gun and shot up some Bud Light cans because of his transphobia and cost them people $1 billion. White boys were like, yeah. And white boys burning shit they already own. Burning shit they done already paid for. Can you imagine? I don't care, who do you think the top black celebrity leader is? Jay-Z? Can you imagine? What's her name? Beyonce? Stack up a bunch of Louis Vuittons in her backyard and shoot it with a machine gun, and black women gonna go and get the Louis Vuittons they already paid for and burn them and shoot them up? I'm telling you, it's just not true. White folks, they taught us most of the dysfunctions. Whenever you think black people the only people, whenever you find yourself we the only people, believe you me, if there's something so distasteful about our community to the point where we don't nobody else, I guarantee you will find that same thing you want to condemn black folks for happening tenfold amongst white folks. Because where you think we learn that dysfunctional behavior from? Where do you think we got it from? Who do you think infected us with that mind virus? So stop lying on black people. We are not the only ones who turn celebrities into leaders and follow celebrities. We're not the only one, and we're not the major primary ones. And what's even worse than turning a celebrity into a leader is turning a leader into a celebrity. Where do you think we got the shit from? Absolute monarchies came out of Europe. Celebrity culture came out of Europe. And then you think the people who taught us how to do this shit stop doing it? Y'all just don't have the hatred and hostility for white folks that y'all got for black people. That's anti-black. But I respect and I understand what he was saying. But he's absolutely wrong. And until black people, until a black actor like Ronald Reagan, who was an actor, in B-movie actor, he wasn't even A-list movie actor. And go look up Berlusconi in Italy. It ain't just white Americans. And Trump, a two-bit con man and a reality TV star, is their prophet and their second coming of the Christ King. And we want to get on down. Don't get bad. Let me tell you something. Let me just uplift your racial esteem, black folks, because everything you think is wrong with us, they doing it worse. We just get confused because they can slather all of their problems in money, their opioid addiction, their celebrity worship, and their following celebrities off a cliff, letting celebrities take over, and how many schemes for every pork chop preacher that goes into the pulpit on Sunday and hustles our grandmothers out of their tithing. There are white mega pictures and white They fucking take the pensions of firemen and take the pensions of policemen and take the pensions of veterans and squander that shit across the global money markets. We think we the corrupt. I just stop being anti-black. And what's really whack is there's enough shit you can legitimately criticize black folks about where you ain't got a lie, correct? You ain't got a lie, correct? Stop telling that we the only ones that turn celebrities as leaders or worship celebrities as leaders. White folks outdo us on that a millionfold. And y'all heard about this ain't even in my notes. This just hit me. No, I'm gonna just tell you. I ain't gonna tell you nothing. I'm gonna just tell you something. Go watch. I don't know the name of it, but I gave a talk about. I said they're not afraid of our guns, and I was talking about guns because I think the algorithm has abandoned me, or I don't know. But there was just with Cuddly Mike and the NRA and all this gun shit, and they're coming for our guns and all that. It seemed like black people were really, that's another thing we learned from white folks, this obsession with guns. And everybody's like, "How you ain't a real revolutionary? You guns. And so a black man who was in the Navy, whose parents said he was a patriot who loved America, cop came, knocked on his door aggressively, bang, bang, bang. And then the cop stepped to the side where you couldn't see out the peephole. And the cop knocks again, bang, bang, bang. Cop steps to the side. Dude hears aggressive knocking at his door. He grabs his piece. Let me not lie. I'm not cool enough to call a gun a piece. That's not who I am. That's not who I am. I don't call guns pieces. I wish I was that cool. I wish I had some floor shine shoes and some shiny bell-bottom slacks. But so he grabs his weapon. Right? And he walks to the door, just weapon at his side, and opens the door wide. Cops see him, blah, blah, blah. Unloads on him, gets on this little walkie, shots fired. Same shit they do when they murder us in cold blood. So I watched the video. And I'm like, black gun ownership. I hear all these brothers talk. First of all, you talk about black revolutionaries and guns. And I tell you, I've seen the founders of the biggest black militant gun club literally be carried out the house in his drawers. Him and his child in his drawers. And the dude didn't throw a rock, let alone shoot. And then there was this not fucking around coalition that was up and down the streets with these automatic weapons. And they shot 3 people. With all these guns, they shot 3 fucking people. And the 3 people they shot were members of their group from accidental discharge of a weapon. One person shot himself, and then another person dropped or accidentally discharged a weapon and it hit 2 of their comrades. We don't do this gun shit right. The system doesn't fear our guns, and we don't interact with guns properly. And it's this black patriot who believed in America. And everybody, like I said, black patriots love America until some American shit happens. How do you find yourself a person of base level cognition in the United States and also a black person being patriotic? And so this brother lost his life, sadly, unnecessarily. And what was the biggest threat to him was his own gun and his illusions about what that gun afforded him. The only thing more dangerous than being unarmed in this country is being armed with the delusion that the Constitution will cover you or whatever local laws, because he had a legal gun. But anyway, I'm not going to get into that because I wanted to talk about that, and I wanted to talk about this help the bear thing. The bear! But I'm going to save that to Wednesday for Rational Radical. Because this evening, I want to talk about Black Power Media and everybody who asked me. And I hope, and I'm going to open the phones and let y'all ask. And I hope that this settles it. Because a lot of people's like, what's going on? And for some reason, people inside of Black Power Media think out of principalities that things should be, don't speak publicly, don't speak, which is fucking weird. Because 9 times out of 9 times, if you're in an organization, whether it is a political, secular, religious, academic, formal, informal. If you're in a group and people telling you not to speak publicly, 9 times out of 9, they're protecting bad actors. I don't like groups, and I just have to remind a member of Black Power Media, who I invited to come on here tonight, that Black Power Media and the new organization that is spawned out of Black Power Media, it's a collective, not a cult. It's a collective, not a cult. Now, I wouldn't come on here and tell you nobody's intimate personal business. But I think the business of an organization that claims to speak to, teach, or engage with the people, we should be butt naked. Like Stormy Daniels and Cherokee, spread, open, and whoever want to look, whether they looking for knowledge or looking out of curiosity, butt naked. The recesses, the dark recesses, is where the mold, the mildew, the darkness is where wounds fester. Light is purifying. But because I'm just going to talk about my personal experience and things I personally experienced, because I ain't got a lot, Craig. And I disagree. Oh, let me talk about principalities, because there's people coming to me, principles, organization. A lot of times people talk about unity and principles in order to manipulate and take advantage of you. If the unity and the principles are not empowering and advancing the organization and the individuals, if the unities and the principles are not protecting the organizations and the individuals, they are illegitimate. We love these words. We fucking love these words, and I don't know if we grasp. First of all, let me tell you how principles work. They can't be one-sided. When you think of principles, think about nonviolence. That was a principle. That was a strategy and a tactic. It was not a fundamental value. It was not a mandate. So I'm a nonviolent person, and I go and interact with a violent person, and I'm nonviolent, and the person smacks me across the face. As nonviolent as I am, if the other person is violent, then we're both engaged in a violent interaction. The only way for nonviolence to be viable is if the other side is also nonviolent. It has to be both. It works that same way with principles. I'm principled, and this person isn't, that I'm working with. Therefore, we're not in a principled engagement, and whatever we're doing together is not a principled thing. So principles have to be shared and enforced. The moment that a person is allowed to be within the circle of the principle and act in an unprincipled way, that colors the entire group. And whatever other thing else, it's the same thing with unity. Unity is not simply, and I tell people all the time, I don't care about principles for principles' sake. I don't care about unity for unity's sake. And I'm glad that we value these things and we aspire to these things, but I think we need to get a better grasp of what these things are and how to use them. You cannot have individuals, plural, within a collective behaving in an unprincipled ways, and then you have the majority of the people say, well, we're going to be principled and we're going to adhere to it. I'm sorry, but the only thing you're doing is fooling and diluting yourself. If someone walked in this room and sat next to me and they were quiet and I was talking, I couldn't turn to you and say, we're having a conversation, because we both have to be in an ongoing exchange of dialogue and discourse for us to have a conversation. If I'm the only one talking, it's not a conversation. If we say me and the same person sitting next to me and I'm saying we're principled, we're in a principled condition and we're going to act according to principles, and they stop and I continue holding the principle, it's not a principled situation. I can't say me and this brother are unified and this brother's undermining me and stabbing me in the back at every opportunity, but I'm showing absolute loyalty to him. This is not a unified situation. Those things such as unity and principles and nonviolence require everyone to be aligned in agreement. So please don't come to me about being principled in an unprincipled conditions. Don't drop me in the middle of the ocean and tell me to try to stay dry. Don't put me in an unprincipled conditions and tell me to act accordingly. But I'm the type of brother, I will match you. You put in $5, I put in $5. That's a partnership. You take out 5, I get to take out my 5. That's still a partnership. But I put in 5, you put in nothing, and we both came the whole. That's exploitation. I'm not being principled, I'm being punked. And when you have a situation where someone is being abusive, someone is being exploitative, you shouldn't bring up the word principle. The only words you should be talking about is defense, protection, punishment, expulsion. But principles, and telling a woman who's being abused to be principled is to enable her abuse. Telling people to be quiet and don't talk about something is in the darkness, enables the bad actors. The secrecy. I'm not going to get on here and put up passwords. I'm not going to get up here and put in passcodes. I'm not going to get up here and talk about people's intimate relationships in their homes and with their intimate partners. But everything that's in the public, and you can't claim to be for the people, but you can't tell the people what the fuck you doing. And I'm the type of dude, I'll give you all the leeway you want. I hire a contractor. And I go look over his shoulder. I don't even understand what I'm looking at, but I want to fucking see. If I feel like seeing, I might say, contractor, come over and do the work. I'll sit up front and play the Xbox. But the moment I get up and walk to the back to see what you're doing, even if I don't know what the fuck it is, I'm like, let me see. And I might say, what is you doing? And he could be like, well, I'm in the midst of what I'm doing. I'm not in a position to talk right now. But when I wrap this up, I'll come let you know. Very well. So you ain't got to tell me right now. You ain't got to stop what you're doing, but I would expect that consideration. And you working for me on repairing a pipe. I just had somebody take out a garbage disposal. And you work for me, and you're going to tell me, you don't need to know. I work for you, but we fighting for the people. We trying to educate and outreach to the people, but we're not supposed to tell the people what the fuck's going on in the machine. Trust our words. Trust what we say about capitalism. Trust what we say about liberation. Trust what we say about black power. But we can't tell you about the internal workings. So I'm going to tell you what I know. And I don't know a lot. I'm probably and I'm going to say this, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's true. But I wouldn't be offended if someone came and said, from Black Power Media or the offshoot organizations that are forming, I probably know the least about this shit than anybody. If you are a longtime follower of Black Power Media, then you'll know I'm relatively new to the platform. Black Power Media was there before I got there. It was created. I had no part in the founding, the creation, or setting it up. And it's going to be here long after I'm gone. If you let the new Black Power Media folks, it was here before me. It's going to be here after I'm gone. So be it. So be it. So as I tell you what I'm telling you, what I know, and there's some things that I been told and things that I know that I don't know, or things that I've heard second and third hand. Not even gonna touch that shit. Some of y'all probably know that better than me. But let me just say this. First of all, I started doing media like 7-8 years ago. I was part of this thing called the Chicago Agenda, the Bloom Co-Opters, the Black Oppression Opposition Movement, and I was doing a lot of grassroots organizing here. I had Freedom Fighters, which was communal fitness. I was just a busy bee trying to, overthrow the world, conspiring, open conspiracy to liberate African people. And I kept running into roadblocks where I reached the conclusion that we're hurting ideologically. because you can get a lot of people together and you can get a lot of people carrying out acts on the surface, but the deep-seated understanding, because I'm of the position that if you have a regular revolutionary organization and it gets splintered or splattered or people exit, then everybody, then the splintering of the group should expand the ideology. It's kind of like white folks. How do you take a white peasant, or illiterate white herder, who can't even spell white, let alone understand that he's white, conscript him onto a merchant marine ship, take him across the world, and he behaves just like the king. The king was taxing and abusing and assaulting his spouse, prima nocta. And then he gets here and then being like, man, I just escaped a horrible tyrant. And now I'm in the new world. And then you can begin that same behavior, the mentality, the ideology, the worldview and social theories that ground and unite the people. And how do you get Europeans? You take a Dutch, Portuguese, Spanish, English, German, French, Hungarian, and they go to the Caribbean, Central South America, North America, fucking New Zealand and Australia, to the Pacific Islands and Hawaii. They go up to Alaska and the Inuits, and they all do the same motherfucking thing. Racism, white domination, white hegemony, genocide, resources. They all do the same fucking thing. So I'm like, wow, where we're lacking is in ideology. We're lacking in ideology. So I said, I've been, since I was 14, doing a lot of this in the trenches, on the ground work, relative obscurity, a noble little soldier, foot soldier, exercising organizational discipline. So I said, I got an opportunity. I got an interview. Somebody called me from a local radio station and said, I'm starting this new show and I want you to be my very first guest. So I went in there. I'm not going to name the show. It's defunct. And there were two hosts. One was really good. One of the best show hosts I've ever worked with. I just spoke to him recently. Really talented guy, just naturally talented. So I go in there and we do an interview. I do the interview and I leave. And I thank them for calling me out. I'm honored. And the station manager and the show host contacted me and was like, yo, we want you to come on full time. And you could come on full time because this was great. We got feedback and this was just great chemistry. Boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, good. Because, I've been wanting to do this ideological work. The university of the world, just articulating and advancing Pan-Africanism, revolutionary ideology and socialism. I want to do it. So I was very happy. And I didn't really have an idea how. I was saying, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to start writing because I keep running into these roadblocks and I don't want to keep doing the same thing for the same outcome. So I'm just going to start writing. But then I'm like, oh, do broadcasting. So I'm a co-host on this show. This co-host was very discontent. He had a lot of problems because he negotiated and contracted with the station owner and the station president and the engineer. And so there was a lot of fighting. And I was just sitting there because I was a co-host. And then I kind of would host the show because the person would miss a lot of shows. He was protesting and really mad about a lot of shit. Not much to do with me, at least I think. And so the dude said, I'll shut this shit down. I'm going to shut it down. And he canceled the show unilaterally. So I'm like, okay, it was fun. My short stint in radio lasted about 5-6 months. So I go home about 2 days later. The dude was like, listen, you want to do the show? And long story short, I'm like, sure, I'll come do the show. And I consciously named it the BroDiallo show because I'm like, I'm going to carry this. And the things I say, well, I'm going to carry the weight. I had a lot of clever names, but I'm like, this is going to be the BroDiallo show because I'm going to speak from my point of view and my perspective, my research, my analysis, my conclusions. And I don't want nobody else to have to carry this weight. Because everything I had done up to that point, the BroDiallo show was the first thing I did within the arena of the movement that was me kind of being up front. Everything else I did was partnership, collective, and me generally not taking a very forward-facing or public stance. And so calling it the BroDiallo broadcast at Q4 Radio. It was very deliberate. And I did that for almost 7 years. And then I'm here now, so I'm not in the studio, but I'm still doing it. And I almost on a daily basis am reminded and encouraged and motivated because people from literally all over the world and all walks of life reach out to me. It's like, I watch your show from different places. I follow you on various places. And despite the algorithm trying to screw me over, despite YouTube deleting my videos for no fucking reason and getting suspended off social media all the goddamn time, people are like, I appreciate it. I just had a sister born and raised in Gambia, migrated to Europe, and she just came here to Chicago to work on some art installation and called me. And my wife and I, we went and had tea with her, and she's like, yeah, in France, African migrants in France, I had a brother for a long time that was in Korea. So I'm like, yeah, this is work that is valued. And so I'm motivated to do it. And whatever I have to do, and I'm piecing together equipment, even the laptop I'm using was donated by one of my listeners because my other laptop crashed out. So anyway, that's where I was. That was my intro to media about 7 years ago. It's the first time I did any media, and I've been doing it ever since because I see the value in it. And as I'm going about it, I interview people, and I'm going to come back to this. One day I walked into the radio station a few years ago, and the president of the radio station said, do you know a guy by the name of Kalonji? I said, I know a couple of Kalonji. And he's like, well, he's out of Atlanta named Kalonji Changa. And I said, yes, this is years ago. I was like, yeah, I know who that is. He's with Feed the People, FTP movement. And he was like, well, he called me about wanting to produce a show and broadcast it on the Q4 radio network. And I'm like, wow, okay. And he was like, well, I wanted to know. And I'm like, I can't really give a reference because I don't know him personally. I just know of his work. I could talk about his work and what I know. And I'm like, I know there's a guy here locally who's like the head of the Chicago chapter of FTP. But other than that, don't know the dude personally. And I don't know how he came to know of Q4 radio because it's a small pirate radio station in Ukrainian village. I don't know. That was years ago. And keep that in mind as we go forward. And so I see in the wings, I broadcast on the local radio station, YouTube, Facebook. It's the same thing everybody else sees. And I see Black Power Media emerges. I'm watching from a distance. I'm watching Black Power Media from a distance. Like, wow, they doing it. Their platform started after mine, and it's bigger than me. They getting followers. They got it going on. They got the merch. People I respect. And here's another thing. On our radio show, when I was with that first radio show before the BroDiallo show, like 8 years ago, our very first guest, we sat and say, okay, we're going to have people on. Who do you want to have on? And we both looked at each other and say, we need to have Jared Ball on. Dr. Ball. As before, I never called him Jared. Up until we started doing the show, and he told me to stop calling him Dr. Ball. I knew him as Dr. Ball. I knew him since the 90s, Mix What I Like, and all of that way back when. Respected the brother from a distance. Didn't know him personally. Considering him a friend now, even though he has no friends. That's another one of those one-sided relationships I tell y'all about. And he came on, and it was a great interview. And my former partner, we interviewed. He was the first person in my radio/media podcaster career. Dr. Ball was he don't even remember. He doesn't even remember. But anyway, that's not even relevant going forward. But I just remember. But Dr. Ball was our first, and we both was like, oh, nah, we big time, we major. In the Black liberation media, we major because we got Dr. Ball on. And this is before Black Power Media was ever created. So anyway, I'm watching him from a distance, and I get a email one time. Hey, brother, we want to interview you for the Renegade or one of the shows where Kalonji, Kamal, and Jared all had the show. And they all were sitting on the couch and shit, and they were like, I'm like, oh, I'm honored because I was a follower of Black Power media. So I'm like, it's all gravy. So I came on there and did the interview, but Kalonji was absent. He didn't show up for that show. I don't know why. I wasn't a member of Black Power Media. And I did the interview. I was very honored. I'm like, this is really great. I see what y'all doing. Y'all doing it big, man. I'm going to learn from y'all and watch y'all. Try to emulate y'all. We all in the same game. And so that was that. I'm going about my life. And I got contacted. I don't know if it was Geechee or Jared or both of them. They're like, hey, you want to come on? We got this idea for another thing. First, we had done a couple of interviews. I'd been interviewed with just interacting, but not affiliated. And they were like, you need to come on board and let's build. And you should create a show and do all this. So I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, my thought was, wow, I'm honored to be recognized and brought on board. I was happy that I was invited to be a part of Black Power Media. I was enthusiastic, and I was working and doing a show with two brothers that I know. Geechee and I had dialogues, and we had worked together before the really good brother Asafo died and passed away. And I would dialogue with him and Asafo, and they welcomed me as open arms. And so I'd been going back and forth with them, and Geechee was going to have me come on and debate what's his name? The Conscious Rasta, Kidia Wadu. So it was all an ecosystem. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I'm glad they invited me on. I'm honored, and I'm going to do what I can to live up to their expectations and come on there and help carry Black Power Media to the next level. While I'm on doing the show, I said things that on the Black Power Media channel, and I had two shows. I had Rational Radicals, which was over there on Black Power Media, but came over here because of issues and started doing it here with my brother Skip, Josephus, and the Earn Your Liberation show, which is still over there. And I get contacted by Kalonji, and Kalonji says, I have this show, like, who the fuck? And it's like, who the fuck is this person? Who the fuck? And he came on, we did an interview, it was very cordial. And I'm going about just producing, going to the Black Power Medias, going back and talking about residuals and the payment structure, and just being and talking to Geechee and Jared throughout the week, sharing articles and insights back and forth, coming up with ideas and topics for shows, just being a member of Black Power Media and the Black Power ecosystem. I went to Atlanta, saw folks. When I was in Atlanta, I got a call from Kalonji. Kalonji's like, oh, you in my town? I'm actually not there, but I'll be there before you leave. We got to break bread. Boom, boom, boom. All this stuff's going on. It's all good. And I'm blissful. I was blissfully ignorant, and I was ignorantly blissful. Like, this is cool. There's a few issues, but it's all administrative, bureaucratic shit. All of my problems with Black Power Media in the beginning were purely administrative and bureaucratic. And we were just kind of shit you send off a memo and an email about, and they'd be like, okay, handle it, boom, boom, boom. You know, and that's it. And to be honest, my wife dealt with most of that stuff. Paperwork, backroom stuff, administrative, bureaucratic stuff about being a creator, getting access, getting the payout, where to send the payout, all that kind of shit. No hostilities, no beef. I'm in Atlanta. Everybody's showing love except for the people I pissed off, because when I first came on Black Power Media, I said some things that anybody that follows the BroDiallo show would be very clear on, especially related to religion. I said some things about religion, and Jared and I had famously a few bumped heads over quite a few topics where we just didn't conclude or see eye to eye. And so people were like, whoa. And I started bumping heads with some members of BAP about the coup d'etats, and bumping heads with people about the definition of, but to me, it was all within the arena of scholarship, analysis, ideology, strategy, tactics for liberation. So even though I had grand differences, I held no grudges against nobody on the platform. Even the people that had problems with me and would come in the thing and call me a Bugs Life looking dude and cursing me out and calling me zesty, just saying shit. And I never took offense. And if I took offense, I'd say something back, and then that's the end of it. Schoolyard type back and forth. And so I'm in Atlanta. I'm at the conference there in Atlanta. I'm seeing people face to face that I've only interacted with online. Jared, Geechee, Kamal, all the people, the ear doctor, all the icons, ex-Black Panthers, ex-Black Liberation people, reconnected with some of my old mentors and OGs from the Black United Front. Brother Mickey Dean was there, and of course I'm there complaining about the lack of vegan food. As anywhere I go, I'm a complain about. And it was all good. And then I'm sitting in the conference, and there's a panel discussion. And I know people in the group got mad at me because the things I call Islam, Christianity, male chauvinist, murder cults, and some other things I said, people took issue with my stance, my anti-religion, anti-theology stances. So be it. Pray to your God about it. And a couple of people came up and told me, yo, that shit you said, I didn't like it. Like, well, it was said. You carry that. And so I'm thinking, we go to this conference. My wife was there. She came on a couple of days. My son came. It was all good. And then I look online and I see Kalonji complaining like, how is Black Power Media providing media coverage for this conference and I'm not invited? And Kalonji's attacking and mocking and dissing the conference online on Twitter. And I'm like, whoa, what the fuck is this? It wasn't my first time in Atlanta. It was my second time in Atlanta. I have to tell you, not the biggest fan of Atlanta. But he was going off. In a Kalonji, I could see that Kamal was not happy. Like, what the hell? And anyway, that was my first little insight that, this happy marriage, because there's 4 founders. Ear Doctor, Kamal, Kalonji, and Jared. Now, Kalonji claims that he brought everybody together, and I don't know. I wasn't there. Didn't care. I've been a member of quite a few organizations, and often I'm not very impressed with the founders. I'll take a lot of times the rank and file soldiers over the founders of organizations anytime. Like Malcolm X. I was a member. I've met the founder of National Black United Front, and I've gotten much more from interacting with the rank and file. So being a founder, good for you. I gotta have you back, Grimlocks. I'll inbox you. Gotta have you back on. But anyway, this is where shit gets now strap in, because this is where the shit where I start having problems, because I'm still thinking that's them. I'm just the creator. I'm just a content creator on the channel. I work for them. They gave me what my minimum requirements was, and I'm like, I'm doing what y'all asked me to do, what I agreed to do, and that's it. And all that management shit and the fight between the owners, but the shit wasn't sweet. It was nastiness all around. And a lot of nastiness I'm not going to get into, because I was just told about the nastiness in face-to-face conversation or through digital conversations, but I'm not going to share what other people went through. I'm just going to talk about what I went through. But that was my first inkling when he was attacking and criticizing the event and the organizers of the event, that the people had what I would call, from my own interpretation, it was beef. It was beef. But that's fine. I work with people I don't get along with all the time. And many of us name somebody who don't. No big deal to me. I flew back to Chicago and we complained about how bad the vegan food was and how great the event was, and some people that really impressed us and people that we finally got to see face to face that we only been communicating with digitally. All good times. Posted the pictures on social media and got back to life. And so, but like I said, in the back of my mind, I'm like, these dudes, it ain't all good amongst these founders. And then I'm going about the show. Sometimes I say things that people consider controversial, but to be honest with you, and this is the goddamn truth, everything I say seems grounded, rational, and reasonable. I try to talk about things that are evidence-based. Maybe my humor Might rub some people the wrong way, but the things that I stand on, things that I'm rooted in, I'd like to believe that they're evidence-based. And if somebody can give me evidence to the contrary, or even a rational argument that shakes that foundation, I'm happy to move. Like I said, I'm more than willing to change my positions on anything. Give me counter evidence or a reasonable argument. Because I don't think I can't lose an argument, because I am a rationalist. I am a skeptic. I doubt and question the things that I stand on continuously. I don't need to be right. I just want to be accurate. Those are two different things. So even if you defeat me in a debate or a discussion or an ideological contest, I feel that there's no real loser, because I'm going to come over to your side and it's the right side. So now I'm right with you. So I don't, people even, oh, you can't say this, you can't say that. I can't call predators, serial killers, and murder cults. No matter how much evidence I stack on top of that, if you define the word murder and you define the word cult, you define the word predator, you define the word serial killer, and I'm calling these people that many of y'all look up to, this person's a serial killer, this person was a cult member or a cult leader, and y'all want to get mad at me. I didn't create these terms, and I didn't live a life to make the people make those terms apply to me, but they did. But anyway, I'm known as somebody, oh, he's saying stuff. And anybody that got bent out of shape about something I said on EYL, on Earn Your Liberation, all they got to do is go back 5-6 years on the BroDiallo broadcast, and I've probably said worse. So I was in a pretty new space, because I had been broadcasting for 5-6 years. And then it's like I'm brand new, because a lot of people were seeing me on Earn Your Liberation, never heard of me before, didn't know the work I'm doing. If you're outside of Chicago or Kansas City, you probably don't know about my grassroots work and shit. So all that to say, I started having to build and reintroduce myself to a whole new people, and having debates and arguments and back and forth that I hadn't had to have in years. Because everybody like my old folks was like, yeah, Diallo, don't bring up religion around Diallo. You don't try to pass no religious shit on him. Don't try to slide your premises. And they're like, oh, he's aggressive in interviewing this and that. So anyway, I'm there. Y'all, if y'all watch both channels, y'all see how it evolved. And we got into a groove. We're in a good space now. And we moving forward. And one day we were discussing, it was Colin Powell. Colin Powell had died. And I wanted to piss on his grave. Shout out to Boots Riley. If you've never listened to the song Piss on Your Grave by The Coup, go listen to Piss on Your Grave. Let me put that. Ooh, this song slaps. What the hell? Ugh. Anyway, go look up The Coup. Travis Scott has a song with, and now that's what comes up instead of Coup. Lord have his mercy. There it is. If you don't know this song, you better. I'm gonna put it in the chat because I want. Anyway, I'm making memes, and I'm just celebrating the death of Colin Powell. And I always go back to Dale Jones's quote. Dale Jones said, Colin Powell is such that when he was born, his mother held him for the first time and looked him up and down and said, I'm going to name you Colin because you full of shit. That's what Dale Jones said his mother. But then I'm on Insta and I follow Chuck D. I follow all my favorite rappers. I follow them across all socials because when I was a kid and I liked the rapper, there was no social media. So I used to have to wait every Tuesday, new albums would come out. So I'd run to the record store and I'd buy the album and I put the album in the cassette player or the CD player. And then I'd read the liner notes on the albums. And then it would mess me up because Gil Scott-Heron for a lot of years back in the 90s, Gil Scott-Heron, all his work were on the Flying Dutchman label. And then a Japanese company bought the Flying Dutchman label. And so when you buy a Gil Scott-Heron from that era, from the Flying Dutchman era, the Gil Scott-Heron album, all of their liner notes was in Japanese script. Of course, I couldn't read that shit, and there was no internet where I could go and have it translated. But I would go and I would read the liner notes while I'm listening to the album for the first time. That was my ritual every fucking Tuesday. I go buy me a cassette or go buy me a CD, depending on what era. But anyway, so now in this era, I don't have to wait for the record to come out. I could just watch them on there. I follow a lot of people, and you let me down. Like Speech from Arrested Development every day. I'm a big fan of his. I think he's one of the most talented brothers out there. But every time I go to his social media, it's like punishing myself, like self-flagellation, because he's on some Jesus shit. And I asked him, what are you doing on this Jesus shit? And he's like, who the hell are you? It's like, I'm your biggest fan, and I'm too broke to stalk. I ain't got money. Where do stalkers get money from? I'm too broke to stalk. But I'm like your biggest friend. I would be your stalker, but I ain't got money to be stalking, and my wife probably wouldn't let me. She'd call and warn me. But anyway, I follow Chuck D. This ain't got nothing to do with Speech, but shout out to Speech in Arrested Development. And Chuck D has this dedication to Colin Powell. Oh, Colin Powell, great American hero, somebody I admire. Boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, fuck the what? Chuck D? Here's a black still in the hour of chaos? I'm a black man and I could never be a veteran. Like the fuck, S1W? Why the fuck does Chuck D, a Public Enemy, have a dedication and a big ass picture of Colin Powell on his Instagram? And I go in the comments, Chuck, what the fuck? Chuck, what the fuck? He didn't respond, but I was hurt, personally offended. Personally offended. It's like, I ain't trying to Stick. I follow Stick on social media. And I be following his fitness shit, trying to keep up with his fitness. Sober soldier. I never drink or get high. I've never smoked weed in my life. But one of my favorite songs and slogans is Sober Soldier. I wish I used to get high so I could be like, yeah, I'm a sober soldier. But I still claim sober soldier. You could be a soldier, sober soldier, even if you never had issues with substances. So I'm a sober soldier. But I'm on there and he's on there talking about the Boy Scouts. Stick from Dead Prez is on there talking about the Boy Scouts. Like, why are they trying to break my heart? I'm too old for this fanboy shit. But I did go on there and I said, Stick, yo, and I gave him dirt on all the PDF files that the Boy Scouts was harboring and how it's a Mormon Christian nationalist cult and a military, low-level military recruiting. And he was like, oh, I feel you. So Stick is a mad reasonable dude. Stick reminds me of myself in that way. And first, we both dope MCs. And secondly, if you go to dude with a reason and some evidence, he's willing to hear you out and even change his position. Anyway, Chuck D is jeffing and giving shout out and giving props and showing love to Colin motherfucking Powell. And please don't ask me or have to go down the line. It's why no black person should do anything but spit on the ground. There's a Colin Powell school, and I walked up in that school, and I'm like, how dare you name a school after a mass murdering international war criminal? And they say, get your ass out. And I'm like, fine. So, Kalonji interviews KRS-One. He interviews T.I. He interviews other prominent people. And we're having a discussion on EYL, and we're talking about one of the interviews. And I make the statement that I think that Kalonji's interviews, even though he gets some of the most prominent people in the culture and the movement, I think they're softball interviews. Because I really wanted I sent Chuck D in the comments. I really wanted somebody to call him out on telling the community that we should honor and mourn the loss of Colin, the fucking war criminal Powell. And I'm like, and so I looked at the Chuck D's interview, and for my taste, I didn't like it. I did not like Kalonji's interview of Chuck D. And then I went and looked at T.I. and all the suspicious shit T.I. gets on. And I'm like, well, this show seems like a place for the celebrities to come and partake. And there was some good shows on there. That he had that sister on there that was in the, which was very biting. The sister that exposed Russell Simmons' predations. And I think that was a good interview. But generally, he'll have controversial figures on there. And it's just two homies just chewing the fat, as we used to say, just chopping it up. What's up, homie? And I think, that's just my taste. I'm like, I don't like when these people, these prominent, influential people come on, you should hold their feet to the fire. And I said, those are softball interviews. Shortly after that, I'm on Twitter. Someone's making a comment about me on Twitter, and Kalonji's in the comments talking about, I'm going to see him. He's going to have to see me. And I ain't never been a hood cat. I ain't never been street cat. I ain't got no street cred. I don't want no street cred. I'm not for the streets, from the streets, or about the streets. Like I said, I'm up in the yard, tending the garden. I'm not a street cat. I'm a community garden cat. But I know what the fuck when somebody says you're going to have to see me. And I've seen him level threats and speak aggressively and threatening to other people. And I was actually surprised that it came my way. And I don't think anything I said should provoke someone to threaten me. So I go to the other founders of Black Power Media and say, listen, I'm done with this shit. I will no longer be on Black Power Media. I'm out this bitch. I'm out of here. I'm done. I said, I'm not going to be a part of something while internally people are threatening me. And I've been a member of several organizations, several militant organizations. I've been part of organizations that partnered with groups like the Nation of Islam, and you know my criticisms of that cult and other groups. But I have never, ever been a part of any grouping function for politics, for media, or any other ways where people within that group are issuing threats to other members from within the group. And let me tell you, when I started letting people know that I was threatened online in a public forum more than once, and I was told, that's all he said about you, he said much worse than me. He's done much worse and said much worse about me. And I don't know if that person who told me, oh, you got the lighter half, and I'm like, well, and I asked, well, am I supposed to tolerate or wait for him to level up? I'm out the group. I was told, hold your horses. Don't lead a group just yet. And they were like, wow, you really talking about you leaving? I'm like, I'm out this shit. I'm not doing anything else on Black Power Media. I'm not associated with it. I'm going to delete it and move on, because I'm not going to stand for being threatened, because I've been on social media since MySpace. And I've had some great conflicts, and I've bumped heads with many of individuals, but I can tell you, you can search my entire post history. You can Google me, Wayback Machine. You can go to my socials. You can go to my YouTube channel. You can go to Q4 Radio and look up their archives. I don't fucking threaten people. I don't threaten people. And that's the one thing I don't tolerate. I don't tolerate harassment and threats against my person or in me. If you're on my socials harassing and threatening other people, I will delete you. I will block you. I don't deal with black folks threatening other black folks, especially over ideological or methodological disagreements. And like I said, I've been called all kind of names. I've had I've been called an agent. I've had my sexuality called into question. And those same people, I can go and get an oat milk latte with it and break bread, and we can discuss. I have a pretty thick skin. Maybe too thick. So anyway, hold on, who this is. Maybe I've gone too far. Okay, that's something different. Anyway, so I call one of the founders, who shall not be named because I talked to him earlier and he said he don't want no parts of it. And I said, this dude threatened me. I'm done. I'm ending all of my connections and affiliations with Black Power Media. He said, if that's all he said to you, he said much worse to me. I've had to put up with much worse from him. And I'm like, well, I ain't built like you. I ain't got it like you. That's in you. It ain't in me. So he said, hold your horses, fall back, relax. Let me deal with it. And because this is someone I respect and I trust, I fell back. That person went and reached out and spoke directly to Kalonji and was like, did you threaten Diallo? Kalonji's like, yeah, I threatened him. You know, no. And so he was like, yo, you can't do that. And he said, fine. He's safe. I'm not gonna do nothing. I'm not gonna threaten. I'll cease and desist. It was a cease and fucking desist. And then they said, oh, and he can apologize. And then when the person came back to me and said, yeah, he acknowledged that he threatened you. He didn't like something you said, and that's how he comes with it. But he's not going to be threatening you anymore. And he's willing to apologize. I said, I don't want or need an apology. And as long as this threatening is not being done, and as long as it's not going to be acted on, we can move forward amicably. And from that moment forward, I had no more direct interactions with Kalonji. I had no more for that for a time being. I said what I had to say on the show. I didn't change the way I interacted on the show. I didn't change my approach to the show. But I was also made aware because of my own thoughts. Other people started coming to me and tell me about being threatened or harassed or treated in ways that are not appropriate. And I think it's inappropriate for Black Power media on basis of this fallacious principles telling people not to come forward and say what has been done to them and what's happened to them. Right? And so that was supposed to level it off, but apparently there were other conflicts going on and other people quitting. And I was also told that I was not the first person to leave Black Power media or threaten to leave Black Power media due to threats and other ill behaviors coming from Kalonji Chunk. And so then there was a meeting where we were all supposed to resolve that. And it was the first time I had spoke to Kalonji since he was there, and everybody was expecting some big confrontation, that I was going to go on this Zoom meeting with Kalonji and let him have it. But I had gotten essentially what I want. I won't accept being threatened, and I won't accept being censored or told what I can and can't say on the platform. And if what I say is unacceptable for the platform or people on the platform, I will leave gracefully and peacefully. You know, I have my threshold, and if I'm crossing someone else's threshold, then I'm willing to walk away. So anyway, that's basically what has happened directly to me. And then there was this meeting, and they put me in a breakout room with Kalonji, and we were supposed to talk about unity and principles of unity. And I'm not sure where they were with this, because other people were saying they didn't want to work with him and they were leaving, and there was all this turmoil. And I'm like, my issue was solved. And I was always under the position that the problem of the four founders should be handled by the four founders. I did not agree that they should have anyone else deal with that problem. When they sat down as the four founders of Black Power Media to deal with the issues that occurred at the founder level should be addressed at the founder level. Things that problems that occurred at the creator or the organizational or administrative level should be handled at that level. And I'm like, I'm not inheriting this problem in these issues, but the issues were going. And then I sat and Kalonji and I were on the thing. It was cordial. And he was like, well, what about principles of unity? And I gave him my whole position on unity and unity for unity's sake. So I'm not willing to take a stance or accept any principles of unity in an organization that's in this level of upheaval and flux. And so we left the breakout room, and he was like, well, Kalonji's like, you tell him what we agreed to. And I told him I ain't about to sit down and talk about unity. You know, I'm not going to sit down and say, what color should we paint the walls and the basement flooded and the ceilings on fire? I said there's much bigger issues than the principles of unity, because Too Black did a thing talking about the organization, which I think was off base. I think you didn't deal with the core rot in the organization. So dealing with all this window dressing would just create a candy coating for a rotten core. So I wasn't really even interested, but I just showed up in solidarity. And so, but there was no problem, no hostility. Kalonji didn't show any level of hostility and was speaking clearly and respectfully, and so was I. And so, but later after that meeting, they were like, you talked all that stuff, and when you were set face to face with Kalonji, you didn't say anything. And I'm like, what was I to say? I had no more problems. And they've been very tight-lipped. They've been very tight-lipped about what everyone else's problem is, and nobody should talk because of principle. We're going to be principle. So I'm like, what the blood clot? What can I do? I didn't want to be threatened. I wouldn't stand for being threatened. People told me that they were also threatened, and I'm like, so you tolerated being threatened, so I should? And some of those people were like, yeah, we got to wrap this up. So anyway, through their issues and their backroom work, there was a discussion where they decided we're going to break. And they were determining who would take what. And the three of the founders, Ear Doctor, Kalonji, and Jared, will exit together, which tells you a lot. You got 4 people, and 3 of them are working together, and 1 person is exit. But the 3 are the bad guys, right? And so they came to the producers and like, pick a side. Which side you want to go to? And just about everybody was like, well, we're going with Jared. And I'm like, yeah, I'm rolling with Jared. I'm not staying over there at Black Power Media. I had nothing to do with that or determining that. I gave my 2 cents. I don't think I was heard. I don't think I was followed. And maybe I didn't have enough to be given 2 cents, but I gave my 2 cents. I'm like, this is what I think should happen. Not only with Kalonji, and I said Kalonji is a symptom, from my point of view, not a problem. And there's too many people under the impression that if we could break with Kalonji, all problems would be preserved. But I felt that within Black Power Media structure, there was too much fertile soil for more of these issues to arise. And we're in a position to fix it. But then we're like, we're going to break and create something new. And I've been going to a couple of meetings and reading some of the emails. But I'm like, just let me know. I know Friday mornings I'm there with my brothers, and beyond that, I'm a little tired. But this is the problem. There was a mediation, and there was an elder who was mediating, who I'm not going to name out of respect and admiration, but I was thoroughly disappointed. There were elders there, and this is where everything was on the table. And before this meeting, I went into an email, the group, Black Power group email, and I typed out clearly what happened. I said, I criticized Kalonji and how his softball interviews, and I felt that he should be asking more penetrating and aggressive questions of the guest. And if you see my interviews, you know what I was talking about. And I'm like, it's just a love fest. They just there jeffing and hanging out, when I think these people should be called on some things. And as a result of me saying that criticism, he had said more than once he was going to check me, he was going to see me, and I took it as a threat. And he acknowledged to others, not just me, that it was a threat. And so I sent that email before, and like, let me lay out what my issue was, because I don't know how many people were clear on it, because it got resolved fairly quickly. He threatened me. When I saw the threat online, I immediately went to the other founders, told them that I'm leaving. I didn't say fix it. I said I'm out. They said, don't leave. We want you to stay, and we want you to feel welcome, and you don't have to deal with this. They handled it. I thought it was handled great. I was happy with the outcome. I had no more complaints. At that point, I could sit across from Kalonji and continue the work. My problem was solved. But for some reason, people wanted me to carry on. And then, so we're sitting there with this mediation. It was an extremely biased and lopsided mediation. Kalonji was there. Jared was there. Several other creators were there. And Kalonji sat in front of me. And I haven't had this happen to me in quite some time. And looked me in my eye and told bold-faced lies. When before, I'm like, man, maybe he's just that dude. I've worked with dudes before that's like, hey, don't cross this dude. Don't joke with this dude. I got homies to this day. Even if you watch the Rational Radical, so when I go too far, Skip will tell me, yo, reel it in. Josephus is my brother. He's a Mississippi through and through. He's a Jackson. Like he said, you a blood blank brother, I will make a withdrawal. I don't want to withdraw from my blood blank. So that's my brother. And if I go too fast or go too far, brothers be like, yo, slow your roll. Or what chips? What skips? He said, oh, you got too much dip on your chip. I know exactly what that means. So I know I'm not a perfect dude. I can be a problem to work with. But let me tell you, brother or sisters, if you working with me or sitting across from me, you are fucking safe in my fucking presence. And if anybody outside of yourself tries to harm you, you have an ally in protecting yourself. I don't fucking threaten people. And I don't accept people being threatened, myself being threatened or other people being threatened. So I thought it was clear. And he looked at me and said, I never threatened you. I just called you a sucker. He claimed that he called me a sucker And he said, I never threatened you. I just called you a sucker. And so I went about threatening to leave Black Power Media and ready to just shut the whole shit down because he called me a sucker. And if you watch Black Power Media, if you watch the comments, if you think I'm going to get bent out of shape of being called a sucker, just go look at some of the things Goddess Crew has called me in the comments. I'm like, wow, that's a goddamn bold-faced lie. And he's sitting here saying it in front of my face. Because I said in the thing, Kalonji had threatened me. And they were like, well, we can't get to the bottom. We got to get to the bottom. And I'm like, well, Kalonji's sitting right there. He's right there. He's in the little box. Just ask him. He's right there. And so finally, after me imploring them to say, listen, I made this assertion, and everybody's just, skating past it like I didn't say it. And then so when they went to Kalonji, I fully expected him to be like, yeah, he said something, pushed me the wrong way. I reacted, or I overreacted, or I wasn't even really going to do nothing. I was just saying street shit, and he got all scared. But I never thought he would just look me in the face and say, I never threatened Diallo. I just called him a sucker. And that's when I lost respect for dude. Before I had a disagreement. Before I thought it was peculiar how he moved. But that's when I lost respect for him as an individual. Because if I did some shit, I'd say it. Especially, and I'm like, there's other people in that room that he knows that he has such little respect and consideration, not just for me, not just for the elder. An elder man, an elder moderator who I think was biased on his behalf in the struggle. And you're going to look at them in the face to the extent you can look at somebody in the face in a Zoom meeting and tell a bold-faced lie and insult my intelligence and insult my integrity. And then he said, which was another lie, I never even heard of Diallo until he came on the platform. And remember, I told you years ago, he reached out to my radio station and mentioned my name to the station manager, John. And mentioned my name. Like, yeah, I know Diallo. I ain't saying we had a relationship. I ain't saying we worked together. All I'm saying is I knew who he was going back a decade or more. And I remember we used to joke all the time because I used to say my wife looks like his wife because both of our wives are just tall, Rasta-looking sisters with long, long locks. Or his ex-wife. I'm like, yeah, his ex-wife looks like my wife. They favor each other. They could be sisters, I used to say. So, and I ain't gonna say dude's name because he ain't no part of none of this, but the local FTP, Feed the People setup out there on 87th Street. I've gone there back in the day, years ago, like a fucking decade ago. I was out there while they was scooping food, working with them. I used to vend with the dude that ran Kalonji's, and for him to sit there and say, I never threatened him, I called him a sucker, and I didn't even know who this dude was until he came on Black Power Media. I'm like, you just told a lie. First of all, you told an insulting lie, and then you told an unnecessary lie. And so then they was like, well, and then all the other shit you can get from other people. But that's what's happened to me, and that's my position. And that was my experience. And if not for the break from Kalonji, and Kalonji's leaving with Black Power Media, and there's a new channel and a new collective being formed from the ashes, or from the remaining group, and I'm going to be a member of that group with how things are moving with the new group. But that element of threatening, lies, intimidation, subverting, I think that element is gone. So all problems aren't solved, but I think the major problems have been solved. And I don't have any fucking reason to lie. I'm not a moralist. I don't need to be the righteous guy. I don't need to be the most popular guy. All I strive for in my whole presence on social media, in the public eye, is that what I strive for is accuracy. Nothing more, nothing less. So I'm very happy that the relationship is severed. And that's what people are asking me, what's going on. Beyond what I've told you tonight, I don't know what's happening with Black Power Media. I just know for the last several weeks, I don't even like my name appearing next to, up under, or anything, or having any way my name associated with Black Power Media. I am very honored and I'm very happy to be associated with Geechee, with Jared, with Ear Doctor, with Burn It Down with Kim Brown. I ain't got a list of, you know who these people are. I'm very happy to be associated with them. I am very motivated to continue with Earn Your Liberation for as long as the people are willing to support and engage with us. But I'm like, why am I waking up every Friday morning and my name is appearing next to or anywhere around Black Power Media? Because that's what ripped it for me. When he looked me in the face and told a blatant lie and then told another unnecessary lie to be a cherry on top of that lie. I don't even know if I could be that goddamn bold for somebody to tell me something I did, something I admitted to, and then look them in the face and said, no, I didn't do it, after I did it and then admitted to it to other respective. And I'm not just talking about regular up and down the block. I'm talking about dyed-in-the-wool revolutionaries, proven revolutionaries and scholars and activists in the community. You're not just lying to some dude up the block. You lying in front of and lying to people we both respect. We both are trying to emulate and carry the struggle forward. And that's when it went from keep my distance to I have no respect. And that's that. So anyway, thank you for listening. That's my 2 cents. And I'm telling this, I mean, I run into people in the community. I have people over for dinner and they like, saying niceties, telling my wife how good the food is and how good her tea and coffee and giving all these compliments. And I know in the back of their mind, they just waiting for things to settle enough where they can be like, the fuck is going on in Black Power Media? That's all I know. But there are people that know a lot more than me. And you're going to have to ask them for anything beyond what I've shared here tonight. And I didn't even want to talk about this. I actually wanted to talk about the bear and the whole thing with the bear and the black woman and black men, black masculinity and providers and all that shit. That's what I intended to talk about. But as usual, poor Josephus, poor Skip Coon, he has to go and have to pick up what we lost. But now, and I'm not a man of mystery. There's a lot of qualities I like to imagine that I have. There's a lot of things I'd like to project and portray. But being mysterious is not one of them. I don't want to be secretive and I don't want to be mysterious. I don't want to know things people don't know. I'm not with that click insider knowledge shit. To me, all that shit is cultish and I am a hyper secularist. I don't want to know shit other people don't know. So beyond your passwords, beyond that secret file, locked file on your phone, beyond that type of shit, keep it secret. But as far as organization and collective shit, I think it should be out there. I don't like holding back shit. I don't like being a part of holding back information. When Black Power Media and whatever comes of that is a byproduct of the community, I think the community deserves full access and knowledge of what's going on. Anyway, you can chime in. I just shared the link in the description, questions, comments, criticisms. But if you ask me about Black Power Media, I'm more or less going to say I've told you everything I know and I told you my experience. And for anyone else's experience or complaints or what they've gone through, and there's a lot of things other people have told me, but they told me in conversation, not necessarily that they asked me to keep confidence, but I've had people tell me some pretty horrendous shit and they didn't tell me to carry it forth. But if anybody wants to come on my platform and share because Black Power Media is telling people they shouldn't talk and keep shit close. And I think all the secrecy about what's going on in Black Power Media is only protecting bad actors. I don't know how this secrecy is protecting the victims. I don't know how. And if someone can explain how secrecy is protecting or helping the victims, I will keep secrets. But tell me how. Anyway, questions, comments, criticisms. I appreciate y'all. Okay, here we go. We got a question, and I shared the link in the chat if you want to come live. Alexander K9 asks, was Christianity in Africa before colonialism? I read that it was, and I've never read it wasn't. Yes, it was in Africa before colonialism. But people get confused. People think that because Africa, now here's the problem though. Before colonialism, African Christianity was in a very small sect. It was a small corner in the Horn of Africa. where you could find Christians pre-colonial. So 99% of the Africans who call themselves Christians, Nigerians, Gambians, Central African Republicans, Liberians, Tanzanians, South Africans, Kenyans, the list goes on and on. Every single 99 for every African Christian, it's like 1,000 to 1. So yes, Christianity was not only in Africa before the European colonizers, it's even found present in Africa before the archaeologists. Every time they go digging around in Eritrea, in Ethiopia, in Oromo territory, every time they go digging around, they find a temple that's 500 years older than the oldest temple. And then they go find a scroll that's 500 years older than the other scroll. Yes, Africa, in fact, spread throughout the Horn of Africa and the Nile Valley. Pretty much at the same time, it's spread into Southern Europe and up into Western Europe. So yes, it was there, but that does not make it an African religion. That does not make it an African religion just because things can come to the majority of Africans. If you meet an African that is not of Amharic, Oromo, Tigray, if you meet an African that is not from the Horn of Africa, that doesn't speak Amharic or read or write Amharic, that African was a Christian through colonization. And what's really weird is you get a lot of Africans. You'll find some Nigerian evangelical or some Zimbabwean Catholic, because Robert Mugabe was a Roman Catholic to the day he died, and he go on the media in Zimbabwe and denounce the white man and then go home and bow to the white man's God and the Pope. But I digress. They want to use the fact that there was some obscure tribe of Christians 2,000 years ago in the Horn of Africa. So they want to tie that somehow to the Portuguese Christian that raped, pillaged, and colonized them and forced God on them, or the Dutch Christian, or the British Christian. So, but even then, Africa was not, Christianity came to Africa. If you look at the oldest church, the Coptic Christianity, the oldest church, and go online and look up the first bishop of Axum. I'm gonna see I don't know what you'll get if you look it up. I'm gonna look it up before I tell you to look it up. Yes, okay. If you go to whatever search engine you like, and you search first bishop of Axum, which is the patriarch, the oldest holy man in African Christianity, you will find that this first bishop of Axum, the first bishop, the founder of the African Coptic Church, the oldest Christian church in Africa, and you go look him up and you click on Google and look up first bishop of Axum, you look up his image, you go to Google image and you click on there and you tell me if that's the image of an African. So yes, Christianity was in Africa prior to European colonialism. It was in Africa before Europe existed. Yes. But that does not make it an African spiritual system or mean that it has African origins. Number one. Number two, very small number, less than 1% of the Black people who identify them as Africans follow the pre-colonial Christianity. They can't read the text. They don't know the stories. And they don't adhere to the dogma and rituals of the Coptic Church. They're following colonizer Christianity and using African Christianity to justify bowing to a colonizer. So I hope that answers the question. Yes, Christianity does go back further. I think literally, like just in 2023, archaeologists found another temple, Christian holy site in Africa that dates back even further than what they thought. Okay. Question, comments, criticisms. Nobody want to come live and talk to me. Don, two-timing. Did I miss anything? Maybe we can end early tonight. I'm a little exhausted anyway. It's been a crazy weekend. Anyway, make sure you go to support our trip to Baltimore. Thank everyone for the donations helping us to get to Baltimore. We got the mics, we got the equipment that we need, and so Baltimore is going to be a successful church. We made a donation to the facility. We bought them some event chairs that we're going to leave there, so it's all good. We're making connections. Okay, now somebody's saying, who brought Christianity and Islam to the Europeans? They didn't found it. Well, when Christianity was founded, Europe didn't exist. So, but it was white people. It was just a crazy, insane culture. Islam, it came through conquest. It came into Europe the same way it came into Africa, through conquest. So even Arabs founded it, and they went through Asia, Africa, and Europe the same way, the tip of the saber. So, but anyway, I can get into that later. But Christianity was brought to Europeans, but they weren't Europeans. There wasn't a European on the planet Earth. Europe didn't exist at that time. So, but Christianity came into that region. It was the Romans, some Greeks, Christianities. There were several cults around. Just like there's a lot to get into, but how do I say it in one or two sentences? So Christianity came into Europe through Roman conquest and expansion, and Islam came into Europe through Arab, and then it expanded and institutionalized through the Ottoman Empire. But they both came through conquest. That's a little bit curious that we don't really think about Europeans being invaded and under the thumb of Christian, but because it was white on white crime, I guess. But it's pretty much the same way. They're murder cults, so it came to both regions through murder. Anyway, Don.
Now, if I got to be
Brown show.
Now, if I got to be available at a certain time, I'm gonna expect deposit on the CashApp. I'm just kidding.
Send me your CashApp.
Okay. But anyway, BroDiallo, it's always good to see you sitting up here doing homework.
I thought you was graduating.
Yeah, that don't mean nothing.
What you doing homework for? You don't graduate if you got work.
This semester, yes, you do. Ooh, when the last time you've been to school? I
walked through a few stages, and I don't tell people I'm graduating.
And who was in your graduating class? Jesus.
And I wish. Yeah, Jesus was there. I went to a multicultural school, so yes. Shout out to Jesus. And
man. Yeah.
Listen to me.
What's the deal?
You're doing work. How you know you're gonna get a passing grade?
See, I have faith in me.
Yeah, okay. Now here we go. And you got your people getting ready. You got your uncles laying out their suits and stuff, thinking they about to go to your graduation. You taking gifts.
Mm-hmm. I was literally.
Don't sit there.
No, but the crazy part. No, the crazy part is
about how you graduating, and you still got assignments to turn in.
Yeah, no, for real. I'm literally thinking about bringing my MacBook like somehow up under my cap and gown, like.
Exactly.
Like I don't know what y'all got going on with. You know what I'm saying?
Show up at your graduation, and you're gonna be sitting in the audience next to them. Here. Like,
my goodness.
I'm trying to finish this paper.
Man, that was
I was graduating, everything was done and done and done. I didn't have nothing hanging over my head. I just don't have.
But that to me maybe it might be different because I'm in the community college system. Maybe the universities got the wherewithal to do like a period wherein we will focus on like people that finish and then maybe have summer, winter, and or the next.
Do something different. I'm old. Like it's been years since I walked across the stage in that cap and gown. It's been years and years. I done forgot everything I paid them to teach me. But
academia under capitalism is just that, academia under capitalism.
Yeah. But I'm saying stop telling people you graduating and then you run home and sit and doing assignments. Wait. And you
No, I'm
and
graduating. No, I'm graduating, bro. Like the fights that I've had to fight
you just said faith. You just said a dirty word.
I know I said
Okay, don't
fight.
have your people come out. Don't have your people light
I ain't
up
say
them
faith.
bills.
Who
You
said
said
faith?
faith. You
No,
didn't say
fight.
faith?
No, I said I've had to like the fights that I've had to fight and all the work that I've done thus far. Like I don't care when y'all want to celebrate me, but I require acknowledgement and
I'm
accolade.
ready.
I
I thought you
require.
was ready, but you sitting there with in front of a bunch of books.
Yeah, man. Always, bro. You should always be doing that. You should
Yeah,
always
I'm
be doing
sitting here
that.
with books, but I got degrees on the wall.
Uh-huh.
My degrees are on the wall.
No, but the book should be surrounding you post
They
and
is. They is.
pre,
I got books
degree
everywhere.
acquisition.
I get in trouble behind leaving books everywhere. But all I'm saying
Same.
is, don't do that to your people. That's all I'm saying. Don't tell people you
Why
graduated.
you gotta I
You
don't
got
understand why I can't. You literally asked for me, randomly called my name, didn't even know if I
because I
was in
saw you
YOLO.
on Kim
Hold
Brown's
on,
show.
hold on, hold on, hold on. You really literally randomly called out my name while I was doing work, and then I came on, and then you gon' hate. Like, I am in the sanctity of in my own home. I avoided disparaging your weak plants, not showing the internet my mama's plants and stuff like that. And I come on to this hatred. So the
Yeah.
contradiction here is, my passion towards you, bro, Diallo, and my community, and then the hateration I'm
Yeah.
being met
It's not
with.
hateration. It's wisdom.
It's giving hateration. It's
All I
giving Mary J.
said is,
Blige.
all I'm saying is, you've been telling everybody you about to graduate, and everybody's been praising you, and everybody been dancing in the streets. You told Kim you was about to finish, and then you called me and was like, "I'm here doing the schoolwork." Schoolwork should be over.
No, 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 no. That ain't how it goes.
You know how people do, but okay.
Mhm.
I'm just have to take your word for it. You about to graduate.
You
Even though
gonna
you
learn
got
today.
assignment.
You gonna learn today.
Okay. My son better not pull that. He's in college.
But I don't get that. That don't make sense. Like, what if he literally, like, what if the final is literally scheduled for after graduation day? I don't make sense. So you think that like the gavel got to be pounded because
Yeah,
like you're gonna graduate. You're gonna.
I have no faith. I have no faith. And I don't trust
I have to touche. I have to touche.
I trust you. I trust my son. I don't trust white folks.
No, I have to. Honestly, I have to issue touche.
I don't call nothing till the check clears.
You
know.
Hey, so BroDiallo, I did want to talk to you about I definitely want to say like pretty much like as of this year, like this space where I am, I finally come to a space where like because I'm very close with my mom and her mom, my maternal grandmother, and I finally come to a space where I'm saying like, no, pound the gavel, I'm an atheist, like out loud to them, right? Besides just like maybe talking with friends or like maybe journaling or conferring with my therapist or something like that. So and I think my question to you, BroDiallo, is like so I guess I was expecting to be met with questions, right? And I was kind of met with like literally a aunt that I hadn't seen in years. She was literally like, I can't worry about you, as and I'm paraphrasing here, but like my journey with Sky Daddy is individual, right? I can't worry about, you and your lack of pursuit of him, right? And I'm just like, that's pretty, I know that's cognitive dissonance, but to more directly identify that disconnection, like in that same breath you asked me, when I was going to come to church, essentially, right? Asking me, when I'm going to come back and be in community with y'all. But do you see how that's the contradiction right there? Like it's and I don't, huh?
I don't.
What do you mean?
When you saying
Like
you, uh,
like how like I'm like literally requesting you to be in community with me right under right the umbrella that is like we all praise and worshiping Jesus and whatnot. But literally when I tell you like I have issues with the with that thing, you know, and that's why I haven't been coming around. That's why I'm not in community with you, right? There's
why
no
would
like
why would one preclude the other?
I guess that's a mistaken assumption of mine.
My uncle is a pastor, and he got an appointment to a church. And so when my wife and I visited Kansas City, and it was way out in Blue Springs, Missouri, we were in downtown Kansas City. And on Sunday morning, we got in that car and drove all the way out to Blue Springs and went to church and sat through his sermons. Because it was his first time being like, he had been a deacon and associate minister. It was his first time taking the helm and taking the pulpit. And I sat there and watched him give a sermon. You know, and to me, it was almost akin to, besides the atrocities, akin to my son went to C2E2, a comic book anime convention. And, you know, so
No, also, I've also gone through the same thing in my family. Like, the church that I was born into, my grandmother was not allowed to don the pulpit. And then there was like a separation, a break of some sort, and you know that the
listen,
family.
there's no atheist dogma. There is no atheist ritual. There are no atheist requirements. Atheism is a simple conclusion. I have a friend who's an atheist, and every December they put out a Christmas tree and they buy presents for their kids and they do full on Christmas. And guess what? There's no consequences. He's an atheist, and his wife, I'm not sure what her position is, but she's like, one of my favorite times as a child was having Christmas, and I'm giving my kids Christmas. And they put up the tree and snowman, and they do the whole shit, wrap the presents. They do the whole shit. And I don't think he's less of an atheist than me, even though we don't do Christmas. So there are no atheist restrictions or atheist requirements. Atheist is a simple conclusion. There is no evidence to support the existence of a God, deities, or the supernatural. And you live life accordingly. That's it. And there's no request. You can go to church. I know some people that go to church because they like the music and the fellowship. One thing that I miss most about not going to church was the cookies. And because after church,
I miss singing. I do. I miss singing so deeply.
Then go sing. And guess what? There's more atheists in there than you know. And many of them got on robes and standing in the pulpit. There's a lot of non-believers in church. So I don't think you should have to be like, well, now that I'm an atheist, you ain't got to do shit. You've reached an appropriate and sound conclusion. You've reached an appropriate and a sound conclusion. So I think it would be irrational that you say, well, I'm an atheist and I'm going to pray that God helps me on my exam. That's irrational. But if you say I'm an atheist, but I'm going to the church cookout, or I'm going to listen to the choir, or I'm gonna buy me my wife but she's an agnostic. She went and bought an Aretha Franklin gospel album. And she get up Sunday to make breakfast and be blasting that gospel music. That's the thing. Atheism makes no requirements of you. It's a conclusion based on evidence or the lack thereof. So don't ever think you can't do something because you're an atheist that brings you joy or that you're into. I went to my uncle's church, sat there, went and communed, listened to the service. I go to funerals and watch all my relatives talking about, we're gonna see you in the by and by, we're gonna see you in the afterlife. I know they're dead ass wrong, and there's nothing to support what they're saying. But that's how they grieve. I understand that's how they grieve, and it's not the appropriate time to challenge their delusions at a funeral. But if they come into an academic or organizational setting and say we want God to cover us, then I have to speak. God's not going to cover us, so we need to make material, real world precautions. And we need to give, instead of praying for people, we give them provisions that they need to support themselves. So there's an appropriate time to challenge those delusions. I don't go off on folks, but like Malcolm said, keep religion where it belongs. I don't kick in the door of mosque or tabernacles and start lecturing people. Right. Or tabernacle, believe you me, it's not because I've changed. I got a reason for being there. I mean, our garden, I ran a garden for like 6 years at a Jesuit property. and you have to walk past this big statue, and I was there teaching urban agriculture.
Yeah.
And there was no contradiction in that. That's the thing.
Right.
Atheism is liberating. It's not restricting.
Sorry, I seen somebody in the chat. Somebody that was talking about somebody's behind me. That's my mom takes care of one of her brothers. But the reason why I'm bringing this up though, BroDiallo, is because this semester I'm taking research methods into Africana studies, and one of the things that I raised as a possible contradiction, right, is just because, and my atheism just probably like I want to say a lot of ours is like it comes from religious trauma, right? I literally just feel a type of way, right, when the Bible is mentioned, right? Its doctrines are disseminated or whatever. And then so I remember my professor, I raised this in class, right? Because we were talking about, Du Bois and double consciousness and all this, that, and the other. And, he literally asked the professor, is Dr. Amiri Manzili? And, he literally asked, he knows about my involvement with the APSB. And he was like, what if Chairman Amalia Stella says, we're going to go organize in the churches and stuff like that. And I do feel that now, right? I did not at the time have, your guidance, BroDiallo, but I definitely have an answer to that now, right? I'm gonna go in there and we're gonna organize.
Right on. All right. I appreciate you, bro. I'm sorry I had to bait you and lure you away from your studies. Go graduate.
Nah.
You didn't sold a bunch of wolf tickets, and now you got to make good on them, bro.
Wolf ticket.
You got work to do. You sitting there doing the work, but I guess I'm not a man of faith, so I ain't got faith.
Why, you could literally be like BroDiallo. You could be a mentor and be like, a young comrade, what you working on, what you need help on, but instead you just issuing out hateration.
I was
toleration.
Just like, I just told my wife, I saw you on Burn It Down with Kim Brown show, and you was like, I'm about to graduate. And I
yes, ma'am.
Like,
yes, sir.
I didn't know he was that close. And I went to my wife. I'm like, Don, young brother, he about to graduate. And she's like, yeah. So I didn't expect
tell you, yay, to family, yay, tell everybody about me, and yes, because I love everybody.
Now, he still got assignments to do. She's a professor, so she don't have. She hates students. I didn't rub her.
My goal is to be either a community. I want to be a community college dean or president, and then I want to be president of all. And then I want to be president of all California community colleges.
All right, so you want to be okay, bourgeoisie aspirations. I get it. All right, now I know you're not gonna forget. You're gonna get up there and not forget where you came from, right?
Yeah. And maybe these structures is gonna be dismantled before I get there.
Yeah. Okay. I hear you. I'm gonna keep an eye on that. I hope you get there soon before my youngest get to college. I'll send him your way.
Man, right. How old is your youngest, if I can ask?
15.
Oh, okay. You're not as old as I thought you was. Okay.
I might be.
Because my parents, I'm 29, but I got my parents are typically older than my peers, right? My mom about to be 70 and my daddy is 70.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
My parents are younger than yours.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm a product of the teenage love. You ever listen to Slick Rick?
Yeah.
Neither one of my parents are 20 years older than me. So both of my parents, my mom and my dad, still alive, are younger than your parents. So
wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
I came up crazy. But anyway, I appreciate you, bro.
Yeah. Uhuru, BroDiallo. Don't forget y'all September 3rd.
Yep. Okay. Namdi, I thank you for your patience.
Hey, what's going on, bro? How you doing?
I'm well. It's good to hear from you.
It's good to hear from you too. As always, I'm happy that you're healthy. I'm happy that your family's doing good, man. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's an honor to be up here with you right now, man.
I appreciate you.
Oh,
is this your first time calling in?
Yeah, no, actually, I called in before. I called
Right,
in
yeah,
before.
yeah. So the same brand.
Yeah,
You ain't brand new. You ain't new to
yeah,
this.
yeah. I called in before, man. It was kind of I was having like internet issues and all that, so it was kind of
All
bad.
right.
But yeah, I called in before, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
But my question is, because you talk about Black Power Media and Black Unity fallacy, so I'm not going to talk about Black media. My
Oh, I didn't even
question
get into
is,
that. Damn. Or did
my,
I? Did I address that? Yeah,
yeah,
I didn't even get into that. I got to pick that up next week.
okay.
I mean,
Go ahead.
what's up, bro? I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, but it had me thinking, what our problem is, what is the problem with us? Like, we seem like we have this notion that everybody, humbly speaking, everybody want to be like a revolutionary rock star. It's like everybody, wants to be like the head man in charge of everything, but we can't have like an actual rational, political disagreement without slinging. So my question is, why is that? And also, don't want to say like unity. Why can't we actually base? I mean, I don't know. I guess I could say unity, like actually sit down and start trying to build like coalitions on and trying to push us like forward towards like a different, I guess, a different perspective or a different paradigm of the struggle, if that makes sense.
All right. So your first question, the problem with what you're talking about is because of the incentive and consequence struggle within the movement. First of all, revolution is an intellectual endeavor, and the ideology, which I don't think ideology is a fixed thing, it is an organic thing. It must evolve, but the ideology has been so warped, and we often recognize the oppressor and the oppression, and we focus on the oppressor and the oppression, but we don't focus enough on the countermeasures and the counterattack. So we still think we're fighting, like when people quote Malcolm X without putting it in the proper historical context in the conditions that he was fighting. So we find a lot of people trying to regulate, but that's a little different. But the main issue is the incentives and consequences, the behavior patterns that we support, and we create an environment to nurture, and the behavior, and what are the consequences. There should already be worked out in every revolutionary organizations. What are the protocols for any type of issues that rise up? For as long as we've been in perpetual struggle and perpetual building and resurrecting and rebuilding organizations, we don't like establishing protocols and structures because we don't have freedom. So a lot of people come to the revolutionary struggle to exercise freedom, but you don't come to an organization to exercise or express your freedom. You come to an organization to become part of the movement and to make a positive contribution to those aspirations. So you're in a struggle where you're fighting for freedom, and people confuse struggling and organizing for freedom with expressing and living free. So when you're trying to organize and you're making requirements, or you're trying to put restrictions on someone, and they were like, well, I came over here with the black folks because we're supposed to be free, and you telling me I can't do this or I need to do that. So we need to, and people talk about organizing, but they're not really organizing. They're not building institutions and laying the groundwork for revolutionary infrastructure. They're engaged in demonstration, activism, and protest. And I have enough respect. I have engaged in demonstration, activism, and protest. I was just doing a big Palestine Congo solidarity protest on the north side outside the big Apple store. So I'm not disparaging activism, protest, and protest, activism, and demonstrations. I'm not against those. I'm not disparaging those. They're very necessary, but most people think that is pretty much the extent of the movement. So people, when they're engaged in organization, they bring that same disposition and mentality of resistance, and we're resisting against things we should be cooperating with. and we should be coordinating and subjecting ourselves to. So it's just a matter of revolutionary structures, revolutionary values, and revolutionary protocols. And I think that all the problem I'm just describing is a byproduct of not enough organizations emphasize ideological and academic components. The more successful organizations were steeped in academia. Most of our successful and most well-known organizations, excluding the cults, I'm not counting the cults in this, even the cults we like and think are positive. Kwame Ture, when he was Stokely Carter, he was a medical student or a pre-med student. Bobby Seale was an engineer. Dr. Huey P. Newton. Marcus Garvey was a printmaker and a journalist. Well-studied individuals. They had the ideological components, but we focus on the berets, we focus on the guns, we focus on them being in the streets, we focus on Garvey's big ships and Garvey putting out the Black Cross nurses, and we never really look at these people's academic work. We never pay attention to how Malcolm X, even though he was a member and being indoctrinated by a cult, he was taking time to sit at the feet of Dr. Ben, Dr. John Henry Clark, and learn true history above and beyond that Yakub rhetoric and the Yakub delusions. So we have to reinvigorate and reassert African academic culture, because ideology and rooted in evidence and being academic, analytical, and historical in our struggle is the only way to prevent a lot of this pettiness, a lot of this infighting, a lot of this demagoguery, and allow us the clarity of mind and grounded thoughts. You'll notice a lot of people, especially people I've mentioned here tonight, they love talking about how they organize. I'm an organizer. I've been organized. And you ever think to yourself, why are they always talking about how they out-organize other Black people as if that's the target? You never hear them talk about how they out-organize a white group or a white institution or a white political party. They always want to look at other Black people and be like, well, I'll out-organize you. Who cares? You could out-organize and do everything better than me. I'm not the oppressor. I'm not the enemy. So defeating me gains you nothing. And it's the same thing with a lot of these groups. Nation of Islam. I never met a Black person who was afraid or intimidated by the Nation of Islam. But I meet Black people who are all the time intimidated and afraid to speak up. And you see a Black person encounters another Black person in the struggle, and the first thing, well, I'm an organizer. I've been and asserting your pedigree and your resume to another Black person as if being better than the next Black person will gain you anything. Kwame Ture said, we don't fight powerless people. We don't engage in conflict with the powerless. Because if you engage in a conflict with powerless people and you win, what do you gain? And conflicts are engaged in to secure territory, to secure property, to secure resources, to secure infrastructure, to secure the state. That's why you fight. And if you fight somebody who has none of those things and you defeat them, what do you secure? Bragging rights.
Okay.
So, the ideological and intellectual component is generally lacking. When you have an organization or formation for whatever reason that is rooted in ideological cultivation and academically grounded in its analysis, assessment, and structuring what it wants to do, generally demagogues, hustlers, conmen, they don't like those type of formations. So they'll either stay away or they'll come in and try to change it. And when they are unsuccessful, they'll go away. It's like an immune system. Ideology and academia is an immune system for organizations.
Okay. So, that's great. I appreciate that. So when you like you said, revolution is an intellectual endeavor. So with a lot of these organizations, right, we understand, they talk about, being politically educated. They talk about, understanding like the history of, Black struggle, Black revolution, Black liberation, understanding your revolutionary ancestors and understanding what they did. And I feel like a lot of organizations, they lack in that, right? And I ain't saying that to be mean, I ain't saying that to be harsh, just being honest. This is, just, I guess, like you say, Dale Jones, criticism with affection. So,
Right.
And I feel like a lot of organizations now, they don't have that political education, like say, I don't want to go to them, but the Black Panther had, you had people like 6 weeks or a month in there before they even was doing any type of like actual work. They're struggling to read, like to actually understand history and stuff. So I guess my point is it just because it just like some people are just organizing just for organizing sake, and then people are using like this, like the words of like get politically active, join organizations and be part of the struggle. But even though you're telling them to be part of the struggle, you're not giving them the tools or equipping them with the tools necessary to understand the struggle in this complexity.
Yeah, I think some people are motivated to elevate within the status quo as opposed to dismantling the status quo. Some people want to assert their position within the hierarchy instead of destroying hierarchy. It is our job to subvert the status quo and to dismantle unjust hierarchies. So when you hear people talk about, well, we need to have our own businesses, have our own banks, have our own armies, they're more about trying to elevate or put a kente cloth on imperialism. And we've seen it. Not only do we don't even have to theorize about what that looks like. We have several decades of history in post-colonial Africa to see what that looks like when you throw the white man out of the chair of empire or out of the prime minister's seat and put a black person there, but leave everything, the economic systems, the social relationships, and other institutions in place. So yeah, you're not in a revolutionary organization. You might be in a pro-black organization if they're talking about elevating black people within the status quo. They're not revolutionary. And sometimes that's where you have to start with the pro-blackness and we want to get our own, and you have to be the element or the engine to move it from being a liberal or reactionary black organization into making it a truly revolutionary organization.
Okay. I know you got one more question, then I'm going. Like you said, you have to, be the engine or the person that pushes that organization to get through its liberalism. What do you think about like organizations who like say they are about African liberation, but they talk about building like I guess you could say, I don't know, like Black Utopia, like, oh, well, we got, housing. I know that even though that is, we do need that. We do need healthcare. We need a lot of things. So what do you say about like organizations who say they are about, economic upliftment, but they show like this, I guess, cultish type behavior where they want to prop up their like we're building this and we're building that, and we like you brought it up earlier, this notion like, look, I out organize you, I'm doing more than you. So how can you, like, if you in an organization like that, how can you I guess humbly be like kind of like be rational?
Well, first of all, you have to stop qualifying freedom, liberation, and power. So when someone's talking, or upliftment is upliftment. There's no such thing as exclusively economic upliftment or uplifting. And I know this is going to rub people the wrong way. We're going to uplift women, or we're going to do economic upliftment, or we're going to do economic empowerment, or we're going to do academic achievement. When you're under systemic oppression and you're oppressed on all fronts, and you pigeonhole your resistance, and what I call it is Pandoraism. Pandoraism or magic pillism, meaning that if you could do one thing absolutely correct, it'll address all the other problems. So if we could just get our economics together, as if there isn't culture, there isn't military, there isn't environmental. When I joined a group that was very, very good, I mean, this group was probably one of the best in the nation when it comes to education and supplementary education, when it came to organizing people for local politics to to confront the local and state government to get resources into the community. They were on the school board. They had no ecological or environmental program. So I joined the group and I was like, listen, the ecosystem is being destroyed, polluted, contaminated, and collapsing. So this organization, you're going to have highly educated and well-resourced people on a dead planet. So we started working and coming up with green and ecological education, and started implementing green and ecological initiatives that complemented the political and educational and economic part of it. So that is just a concept that was really popular in the 90s called holistic. People saying if your approach is not a holistic approach, that doesn't mean that you have to do everything. But what the thing you are doing, you have to understand that it is a component of everything else. So if people say we're doing economic upliftment, then that has to be work on getting resources that is complementary to the people doing the health, the environmental, the women's work, or working with international. It has to be complementary. So that doesn't mean you can't work on a particular item, but if that item is formulated to be the ultimate solution, we just get our reparations, or if it's not formulated where it is complementary to and can eventually be fused with other groups and workings, then it's kind of like colonialism in reverse. When the colonists came, some people were merchants that were just there to take resources back to the mainland. Other people wanted to settle and set up a homestead or a fort. Other people wanted to go out into the unexplored territory and be trappers. And all these white folks engaging in different components of colonialism, but the ultimate mission was to secure the land, clear it of natives, and extract the resources and set up a state and power. So if the Europeans came here and it's like, well, we're just going to focus on economics of imperialism. We're not going to take away these people's religion, their language, their culture. We're going to allow them, but we're just going to focus on economics. Europeans didn't go anywhere in the world, even though we talk about how they're about money. Where did they go anywhere in the world and focus strictly on money? It wasn't no money in systematically lynching black people. They didn't get money for that. That was psychological and emotional and cultural warfare. So when people say, well, we're just going to focus on the economic, or to try to pigeonhole or come up with a Pandora, cut the check, or we're just going to try to get girl bosses, you know that they're not about liberation. They're about securing some level of relief or even harm reduction. But that's not revolutionary. It's incomplete. Ain't no such thing as halfway revolution. So I think we need to start articulating and advocating for holistic revolution that is either encompassing a larger mission or complementary to the work that others are doing, if you're don't have the resources or the reach to do that additional work yourself.
Okay. I mean, I 100% agree with you on that. It was a couple other questions, but I know it's late, so I'm gonna let you go. I appreciate you answering my questions as always, bro.
It's good to hear from you too, bro, and I appreciate your ongoing support. I see it and I do appreciate it.
I try, man. I try. My little pennies, man.
Hey, listen. It motivates and helps to sustain me. I do. I see you out there.
All right, bro.
Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, our final caller, Happy Bunny. Your live question, comment, criticism.
Hi, Diallo.
Hello.
Hi, my husband loves this show. I do think you're a bit of a heathen, but I love you too.
Okay.
Anyway, so my husband's trying to drag me to the in-person event, and with all that you said about Mr. K, do you think it's safe? Like, do you think he has any minions that would do anything to the live meetup? Like, are we good to go?
Let me tell you something. I grew up in a very rough neighborhood in a very rough city. And one thing I know about tough guys, and I know some tough guys. I was raised up and I got some homies is that tough people never act tough. I've never met a tough guy who acts tough. And not to say that this person isn't tough, but I have to say that I'm not particularly worried at all. Of course there will be, but no, I don't see that at all.
And the only other thing I had to say was I loved your book reviews, and I wish you would bring back the book reviews. And then
I'm on it.
I'm on it. Oh, he watches you every single day. He's not saying nothing.
I appreciate that. You know, I did a book review on Dr. Naeem Akbar, and then I got a call and he cursed me out.
What?
So yeah. Because he was like, man, that book was written in 1980. And I know it's an old book, but I said it's one of the most influential books. So I knew it was old, but he was like, review one of my newer books. And I'm like, man. And I've always respected Dr. Akbar, and I've looked up to him since I was in middle school. And so that did kind of discourage me. Like, man, I don't want to get cussed out by another one of the scholars I admire. So, but I'm going to get back on it.
Book reviews, they're just really insightful. And I really enjoyed them, so I hope you bring something back. Just anything to read, because I see you have a lot of books, so I would definitely be here for that.
Okay, I did. Upon your request, I will definitely get back on top of that.
Oh, well, thank you so much, and we'll probably see you this weekend then.
Okay, looking forward. I'm going to be there. Be more. All right, have a good evening. All right. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate the questions, comments, criticisms, insights, and sharing. I hope we can put this little bit of messiness behind us and move forward amicably. So, you know, I'm at peace, and I know who the enemies are, and that's who only people I seek to conflict with is enemies. Like Kwame Ture said, we don't fight people who lack power because there's nothing to be gained from it. So any serious people, and if you out organize me, good for you. I'm glad you. I hope everybody do better than me. If I'm the floor, if I'm the worst organizer, and everybody else in the community is doing better than me, then that's a wonderful world. I want to live in that world. So if outdoing me is your goal, go outdo me. You know, and I won't try to stop you. And if I can help you to do better than me, then so be it. And I'll say, but that's it. I appreciate y'all. Wednesday, we got the Rational Radical. Skip's going to be on. We're going to be talking about black manhood, black masculinity, and the bear. While sisters and women in general assert that if they were alone in the woods, they prefer to encounter a bear than a strange man. And how brothers reacted in a way that kind of confirmed that fear and made it seem rational. So anyway, I appreciate y'all. Like, share, subscribe, become a patron if you have the resources. If you got it like that, make a donation. Also go and express your support. Even if you can't contribute for the Baltimore, just go there and leave a comment and encouragement. And in the future, Geechee's already out there making plans for Earn Your Liberation appearances in other parts of the country. So if you want to get behind this thing, and depending on how well received and how well this goes, Earn Your Liberation will be in your town coming through. Anyway, so that's that. And I will see y'all Wednesday and Friday with Earn Your Liberation. And I appreciate y'all. And until next time. Where's the thing? I don't know where the thing is. Oh, there it is. All right. Peace.